point. Apparently the man with the gun was in one of the classrooms. There were some shots heard. Nobody has any idea that what had happened, but apparently there were some gunshots heard outside the high school here. And at this point, the students have been removed from the high school and are at this point in safe areas. And we have Janie Peterson, who is one of our staff on the scene. We of course have quite a few people here and several cameras getting this story at this point. And Janie, what do you know about the situation so far?
Well, so far, I've not only been around here, I went up to the hill where some of the kids were evacuated, and some of them said that they knew who the student allegedly was. They said he was a 17-year-old, and they said, police also say that the mother is currently in there with him right now, trying to talk to him, trying to calm him down. Some of the students say that they have been sent home, but now some of the police officers are saying there are still some students inside the building, and people will be leaving as soon as the police figure out exactly what is going on. But so far, we do know one of the friends that I had talked to, he said that it is his friend, and he talked to him yesterday, and he said that the kid said that he wanted, have you ever thought about going into a classroom and shooting your teacher? They never knew that it would come to this, though. That's what they had said to me, and supposedly police say his mother is in there with him right now.
Of course, we've got to caution our viewers that what the kids are saying in the parking lot may not be exact. Police are continuing to look into the situation, and there's been a response to it. And
police aren't saying very much at this point right now. They just want everybody to kind of clear away, and they want to work this thing through and not get out any real misinformation. That's why we've just been talking to some of the kids to see their reaction, to see what they knew. But police have not confirmed who that child is yet.
Okay, thank you very much, Janie. We'll remain on the scene here throughout this incident. We have no idea how long it may last or what may happen, but at this point, we're here standing by and waiting. Police have made a measured response to it in reaction to the situation, and now it's a wait-and-see atmosphere here as we wait to see what this individual will do and what the outcome of this thing will be. And we'll be bringing you further reports, updating you probably every half hour or so, depending on what the conditions are here and what events happen. From Stevens High School, Mike Morgan, Action News.
Okay, again, to reiterate, police have surrounded Stevens High School. Just a little while ago, a man with a shotgun walked into the school. Police are in contact with the subject at the moment. He's said to be a 17-year-old student at Stevens. Most of the students at Stevens High School have been evacuated at this hour. We do have crews on the scene, and we will update you with live reports throughout the afternoon. Linder with this special report from KEVN Action News. Police remain on the scene at Stevens High School, where a man with a shotgun walked into the school this morning. Police are in contact with the subject at this moment. Most of the students at Stevens High School have been evacuated. We are now going to go live to the scene. Dan Schillinger is at Stevens High School. Dan, what's new?
Michael, we don't know a whole lot more than the last time we talked to you, except that another group of students was evacuated just a few minutes ago. They just passed by this area out the front door. We've also heard a report that the suspect inside has either asked for or is going to be provided with pizzas. So there is apparently some sort of discussion going on inside. We are talking to some of the students right now who were evacuated, including a couple of whom are part-time employees of ours at KEVN, trying to find out a little bit more about exactly what's going on. We have confirmed now that there were some shots fired earlier. This all started, by the way, about a half an hour ago, for those of you who are just hearing about it now. We have not heard of any injuries to anyone. We have not seen any ambulances taking people away or anything like that. So as far as we know, nobody has been hurt yet, but the apparently 17-year-old student, we believe it's a student, still in the third floor here at Stevens High School, and what he wants and why this all began is still a mystery to us. Michael?
Okay, thank you, Dan. Again, to reiterate, there is reportedly a 17-year-old in the Stevens High School with a shotgun. We will have live updates throughout the afternoon as the events warrant. We'll be back at 5:30 on Action News.
And then in doing so, he left 20 students approximately and the youngster in the class. Since that time, we have reports that shots have been fired, but we aren't certain of that, and we don't know that really occurred, but that's what is reported. We also have students in the class that we are attempting to talk to now. But the only information I can give you is that this is a third-floor classroom, and that we have the reports that shots are fired, and there have been some demands. I'm not going into any more of that with you. Sheriff Holloway will explain to you what we're trying to do as a group and what the Highway Patrol, the Sheriff's Office, and the Police Department have formulated for a plan.
Okay, we've called our tactical team into place. We have secured the floor and the hallway where this student is held up with the other students in the classroom. We have a negotiator that is made contact with him and is in the process of negotiating at this time. The school is releasing all the students from school. They're also calling all of the parents of the students who are in the classroom with the young man that has the gun. So those parents at home that are wondering if their children are involved in this will be getting a phone call from the school if in fact their child is in that classroom. The school is making an arrangement to have
However long it takes, that's what we're going for.
Michael, that was Police Chief Tom Hennies and Sheriff Don Holloway, as you just heard, telling us what they know about this situation at Stevens High School this afternoon. In case you joined that late, there is a 17-year-old student in a third-floor classroom. We believe it's back in this part of the building over here, back in the math and science area. There are approximately 20 students apparently being held in that room. Police negotiators are working with the young man right now. And as far as we know right now, nobody has been hurt. We have heard this report of shots being fired. The student apparently walked in here with a shotgun. And as you heard Chief Hennies say, we don't have a confirmation of the shots being fired, but it does sound as if that indeed happened. Did you have any questions, Michael? Okay, Michael, Janie Peterson has been talking to some of the students. We're going to find out what she found out. She's standing right here. She's been out, as we said, some of the students were evacuated a little while ago. Another group came out just a short time ago. Janie, what have the students been telling you?
Some of the students said that when they first left their classroom, especially if they were on that side of the building, they heard that there was actually a chemical leak and that the people weren't telling them really what was happening. Finally, when they came outside of the building, then they realized that they heard somebody was being held hostage in a classroom and that they had a sawed-off shotgun, the same thing that Hennies just told us. But so far, some other students that I've talked to, some of the best friends of the student, we can't release his name as of yet because he is a juvenile, of course, but some of the students I talked to, they said that yesterday they heard him say, and have you ever wanted to go to your math class and shoot your math teacher? And apparently they thought that he was on the verge of a nervous breakdown. They never knew that this would come to this result, and this today. So they're quite concerned with it. We also saw a little bit earlier today, we saw one of the best friends of him go in to talk to him. So he's one of the people reportedly in doing negotiations with the students. And so far, that's basically what I've heard from talking to the kids around the scene.
Okay. And again, you heard Chief Hennies tell us just a moment ago that the boy's mother is in the school. Now, whether she is in the classroom with him right now or outside, we really don't know. Frankly, the police don't know a whole lot. Yeah. We can tell you, we know there are many, many parents out there who are wondering about their children. I happen to be one of those parents. I haven't heard about my child yet either. But we do know that as of this point, we have not heard any word of anyone being injured. We have not seen anyone coming out being loaded into the ambulances or anything like that. So we think nobody is hurt at this point.
And they also said for parents to be aware that they can come and pick their kids up if they want to, if they're afraid of them being around. And there's only about 20 students, so the rest of the parents should be a little bit more calm as they can come and pick up their students and find out exactly where they're at.
Right. Mike Morgan is here with us, too. Mike?
Dan, Police Chief Tom Hennies just told us that he's going to do another update news conference for us at 1:30 this afternoon. So if not before, we'll be back on the air for that conference live at that point for the update.
Okay. So that's the situation up till now, Michael, and everyone else. And as we said, we will be back with further updates as warranted. If nothing else, we will hear from Chief Hennies at 1:30 as they continue to negotiate with this young man who is holed up at Stevens High School this afternoon. You're with the parents right now? Grab my tripod, Danny.
Okay. One student has been released unarmed. Our negotiations are continuing. We feel as if we're making progress on the case at this time.
What was the reason for that one particular student? Is there a particular reason for that?
We haven't been able to determine why that student was released. The female student was just released to out of the room and came walking down the hallway. Our officers are at this time talking to her. No one has been injured at this point in time from information we've been able to gather from her.
What's the next step from here? Where do you go from this point?
We're in the middle of negotiating, and I'm sorry, but we can't discuss all of our tactics with you, but the negotiators have made contact and are continuing contact with this individual, and we will do our part to handle this in a safe manner. So we will continue to negotiate, and that's what we're doing right now.
Did the young girl seem scared, or was she frightened at all when she came out of the room?
Well, there's, she's reacting in the way that you would assume that someone would react going through a situation like this.
Did she say there were in fact shots fired? We heard about loud banging sounds. Was that the shotgun?
We do confirm that there is actually a shotgun in the room.
Did the girl seem shaken out? Was she scared at all?
Her composure was, I thought, good, taking into consideration the situation.
So how long do you think this will take? We have no idea until we're in the middle of negotiations.
When you go through one of these situations, you really have no idea how long it's going to take. We're prepared to continue on until we get it resolved, hopefully with no one getting hurt.
Have you been able to notify all the parents or family members of the students?
All the parents have been notified by the school. The school has provided a room for those parents whose children are in the room. The negotiators feel good about the contact that they've had at this point in time.
Has his mother been talking to her? Is she trying to talk him out?
We have been visiting with the young man's mother. She's here.
How are these negotiations going on? Through phone or another room?
Through an intercom system.
Through the intercom system.
Are students involved in the negotiations as well?
We have talked to students. If I can answer that question, Barry, we've talked to students, but we don't have students doing our negotiation for us. So we have talked to students to find out what will satisfy this individual and those kind of things. But you really keep picking away at what our tactics are and how we're handling that, and you really can't discuss it because I have no idea what kind of media contact he has in the room either. Superintendent Haugen did come with us to answer some questions if you people have some on the school's involvement here.
The young man made demands and still hold it.
Well, he has made some demands, but we are not at liberty to discuss those at this point in time.
We've heard that you ordered some pizza and Coke and you didn't go in. Did that go to that classroom?
I'm not at liberty to discuss that at this point in time.
Dr. Howard, I don't know if you were rapidly prepared to answer this, but is the room fairly accessible to lots of students attending it? Are there windows all around?
I'm not able to answer that question. I'm not that familiar with that area. Any comments?
Tell us what happened.
Well, Ryan came in, the boy with the gun, and he told Mr. Pogany to leave, and then he shot into the wall. And then Mr. Pogany left, and he shot again. And at first it was really scary because I thought I was going to die. Everybody was pretty scared. And then he was okay towards us. When he'd get on the intercom with the police or whoever he was talking to, he'd get really angry and just shoot. He didn't shoot any people, but he never threatened to shoot any of us either. Just anybody that came up to the room, any cops or anything. One time he said that he figured that he wasn't going to get anywhere else in life, so why not?
How did it end?
How did it end? Chris, I don't know his last name, I'm not too sure, but Chris, we got cigarettes, and Chris went up and asked him for a light, and Chris grabbed the gun, and then he grabbed the knife, and then he told everybody, he said, "Your game's over, buddy," to Ryan, and then he told everybody else to run, and everybody just ran.
Did Ryan put the gun down, or did he grab
Yeah,
it?
he had it set down. He had it like that a lot, but most people were too scared to go up and try and grab it. So
So it was laying on a table or something?
yeah.
What was his knife? I haven't heard of it.
It was the kind with the where you put your fingers through. It was like a switchblade.
Was he carrying that around in
No, he had it in a desk. Just, he
stuck
had
in
it.
the desk? Did he do that at the start? Put it in there?
No, I didn't really notice, but it was there later on.
Larger knife? Long knife?
It wasn't very long, no. It was just about, this much blade. It'll probably hit me later. I just don't want to.
What were the other kids thinking? Were they scared too? What did you say to each other?
Oh.
Did you bolster each other?
We were all pretty calm in there. We just wanted to be nice to him, be nice to Ryan. We were all pretty scared. Everybody would, give each other looks like it's going to be okay. Yeah, I went to school with him at St. Martin's for 2 years, and he never seemed like he would do this at all. I mean, he's kind of, he's got the long hair, and, he seemed like a pretty nice guy. I never thought he'd do this.
How do you spell your name again, first name?
Carrie
Last name?
Chovson.
How do you say your name?
Carrie Chovson. Okay. How many kids are in the room? I'd say.
Okay, you've been watching live here an interview with one of the students that has been in the classroom here this afternoon. You can imagine the relief and the feelings of emotion that are coming out of people. You can just see it on the faces of not only the students who are in the classrooms, but the law enforcement officials, the school officials, and others who have been involved in this situation since 11 o'clock or so this morning. And now interviews are taking place, and people are trying to make some semblance of order, or trying to figure out some reason for why some of these things occurred. But the great news is that the situation is in essence over, because a juvenile student from Stevens High School has been taken into custody. We are not releasing his name because of the fact that he is a juvenile. And he's been taken into custody. He gave himself up at the end of the situation because of the heroics of one of the other students in the classroom who had an opportune moment while apparently this other student was lighting cigarettes or so forth, grabbed the gun and then ended the hostage situation very quickly. More students coming out here. I'm going to get out of the way so we can get some pictures. Apparently now some of the things that need to be done are they need to figure out some counseling and some other things for these students who are going to have some questions probably, and are wondering why these kinds of things could happen. One of the comments that we've been hearing over and over again in this situation that I've been hearing since it began is, in Rapid City, South Dakota, could this happen? And apparently, yes, the answer is yes. But the good news is that the
Positive that we were getting, so that was one indicator that everything was being handled pretty good by the cops.
It was handled well. We're real proud of the student. Chris? Yeah, Chris. Oh, that's great.
What happened? You got a phone call at work? What happened there?
You got one first.
Well, all they did was call and ask us to come down to the school.
Well, then I got one from the assistant superintendent. I teach our counselor at school, and they asked me to come down. I knew already. I knew she had intermediate algebra. I knew her teacher, and I thought,
You teach here.
well, I'm a counselor, not at Stevens. I'm in the school district, though.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So
so it was real frantic. But you have to be optimistic and just hope for the best, and there were a lot of other people in the same boat, so we just hung together. And they had a great crisis intervention team that really helped out, too. At the school. The school.
He's lighting cigarettes for everybody, and he had the gun, only held the gun with one hand. So I went up behind him and snagged it away from him and pointed at him and told everybody to get out.
Chris, why'd you do it? What came through your mind at that time? You had to risk your own life to do it.
Well, I don't want anybody in the room to get hurt or anything else to get shot. And like I said, I knew there was no way anybody was going to get out unless someone inside the room took action. What made you think that, though? What made you think that he wouldn't get out or wouldn't quit?
Because he was shooting everything, shot walls and pencil sharpeners and speakers and overhead projectors and chalkboards and I was just trying to think of a way what I could do, and I just finally got the chance, so I took it.
He had the gun on the side of him or holding it, or
He had it laying on the table with one arm wrapped around it, looking the other way.
You're on the football team, aren't you?
Yeah.
What position you play?
Tight end.
What was his reaction when you took the gun?
He didn't expect it, but after he realized that I had it pointed at him, he got up and he started walking after me. He started walking towards me, and he goes, "Do you think I came here not to get shot?" And I said, "I don't know, but I'm not going to shoot you." So I just kind of backed out the door and told the cops to come get him. And they swarmed in.
Can you describe the atmosphere in the room? Were the kids scared?
Oh, yeah.
Crying? What was going on?
I think he let one or two go because they told him they were going to be sick, so he let them go so they wouldn't mess up the room.
Was there much conversation between this young man and the rest of the class?
Yeah, he was on a first name basis with everybody.
What was the conversation about?
Just about, I don't know. We'll have to stop. We were in there for he didn't. I don't think anybody wanted to ask because they didn't want to trigger any kind of, emotional or trigger any kind of mental to make him lose his rocks or something.
Was he pretty stable most of the time?
He was pretty stable.
Okay. How are you feeling right now? I mean, is your adrenaline going, or are you...
No, I'm just glad it's over and nobody got hurt. Just a bunch of replaceable things.
You think of yourself as a hero, though?
I didn't have to fight him or nothing. I just grabbed it away from him.
Did you grab it pretty easily?
Yeah, it came pretty easily. It was a light gun.
When did it occur to you that this was not a joke?
When he shot the wall the first time.
When he was holding the gun, you said he was holding it in one hand, was he holding it with the trigger or the action of the gun?
He had, it was laying on the table, and he had his hand wrapped around the stock. No, he was just holding it by the stock.
Tell me what the reaction was in the classroom the first time he pulled that trigger.
First time he pulled it? Jumps and screams and jitters, I guess. I didn't know what to think. Everybody was pretty quiet for a while until he started talking. Everybody kind of loosened up a little bit.
CHRIS, E-R-I-C-K-S. 17 years old. You're a junior?
Senior.
Senior.
Yeah, football. Tight end. Tight end, yeah.
So Chris Eriks, he's the hero in this situation. I guess I should say Mike Morgan live again from Stevens High School. We've been live since the start of the situation, and I guess maybe this will be the last one until we do our report at 5:30. But Chris is the hero of this situation, as you heard him describe what went on. He apparently got in the right position at the right time, grabbed the gun, and he's the person that ended this situation on a happy note for all of the hostages that were involved. And there's some interesting emotions here at Stevens High School this afternoon. Some people feeling kind of wondering if, what happened, almost to an anger type emotion of, why did this thing go on? And other emotions of happiness and kind of emotions in between there as the cork was popped here of just before 3 o'clock when the hostage situation ended, when Chris overpowered the other student in the classroom who was holding the hostages, and they all left the classroom, and then he came out into the hallway and gave himself up to the police. And so the situation has ended happily. You see the students in the background here as this situation continues, and there's Bill. Hi, Bill. And it's been an interesting day. People say, why in Rapid City, South Dakota? And that's one of the questions that probably will remain. A lot of psychologists have been called in here to kind of help out in the situation, to debrief these students and do some counseling and some other things to kind of help out in this situation as much as they can. And we'll have a complete report. We've had crews on the scene here, and we'll have a complete report for you at 5:30 to try to piece together what happened and as much as we can determine why. Reporting live again from Stevens High School, Mike Morgan, KEVN Action News.
Almost as soon as the hostage situation ended, cleanup was underway tonight.
Yeah, that's why I checked some wires.
Police arrested the 17-year-old who held 22 kids at bay for 4 hours in this classroom. The 22-gauge shotgun left its marks on the overhead projector, the blackboard, and the door he shot at across the hall was removed. Hostage Chris Eric says he was afraid somebody was going to get hurt.
He's so careless with the gun. He just pointed, and swing it around, and I didn't think he had it in him to shoot anybody purposely. I was just afraid of an accident.
Chris became the hero of the day when he snatched the gun from the juvenile.
You don't know what he's going to do next, what he's going to shoot, or who he's going to shoot, or what kind of stunt he's going to pull.
Were you scared?
Oh, yeah. Everybody was.
The gunman's best friends say they knew he was on the verge of a nervous breakdown.
We figured he'd, break down, run away, take off, leave, something like that. But nothing like this. Nope. This is totally unbelievable.
You can still see the mess tonight. Empty pop cans, pizza boxes, and cigarette butts. All were the first demands made by the hostage taker. Police have already removed the other evidence from the room. About 9 shots in all were fired in this classroom earlier today. Tomorrow it will be closed off to the classes that are usually held in here. That's because the principal doesn't want to put the students through any more stress than he has to.
The first emotion is probably simply just fear. Could this happen again? Would there be an incident that would snowball off of this incident? And we've always felt we've had a very safe school. And now both students and faculty feel it may not be so safe. But
some students came back to school tonight to go to their lockers and pick up their books. Perhaps a sign that they're trying to put this behind them and come back tomorrow with a fresh start. Janie Peterson, KEVN Action News.
It's been more than 24 hours since a classroom of students at Stevens ran out of room 320 to freedom. And freedom is a word that means a lot to these students now. In the 4 hours they were held at gunpoint, they had a lot of time to think about their lives and the possibility of death.
What my little brother and him would think. So I don't know if they'd understand it right away. But it's just thinking about leaving all the people that I know. It's the hard part.
When Alan's mother first heard her son was one of the ones being held, she fell to her knees and prayed. Today, Alan's very presence shows her prayers were answered.
I just kept looking at him, really relieved that it was over and no one was hurt. And today he was, on his own back to school. And
it sounds like something right out of a suspense movie. But one of the most amazing stories to come out of yesterday involved the coverage of the hostage situation. As KEVN's anchor Dan Schillinger was describing on live TV the terror that was unfolding inside Stevens High School, he was living through a nightmare of his own. Ironically, Dan's 16-year-old daughter Mandy was one of the hostages.
You're stunned at first because, like everybody else, you think, well, this doesn't happen to me. This happens to everybody else. We're the ones that just show up and report on it.
It's like, I wonder if this guy, recognizes the name or anything you're hearing. Because that could have made, if he would have, that could have made the situation worse.
While Mandy was inside, Dan was outside on what he calls live TV autopilot.
You know, when you first show up, you sort of go at it with your normal flippant reporter's attitude, and then all of a sudden it all changes because you have a personal stake in what's going on. And, but it's very strange. It's not something I'd be real anxious to go through again.
Words that at least 22 Rapid City students and their families will forever echo. Carrie Wickersham, KEVN Action News.
Do an interview.
We don't really have anything to say.
To say? You can't. Okay.
They set up.
Was in there, I don't know what he was doing. He said he got it from a book called Rage or something. His birthday was yesterday and he didn't think he'd do anything better in his life, so he decided to go do this to a classroom. And I don't know, he shot the intercom, overhead projector, and a couple holes in the wall, but he didn't threaten anybody or anybody in the room. He was throwing stuff around the room, but other than that, he was being pretty nice. He was letting people talk to each other, and people were playing hacky sack in the middle of the room, and he was being pretty nice. And then he started, after the guy in the intercom kept saying 2 more minutes till the stuff got there, he got really mad and shot the intercom, and people thought he was going to shoot somebody because he was waving the gun, or he had the gun with him all the time. And I don't know, Chris must have overpowered him when he was reloading or something. I don't quite know the story because I got let out before that happened.
Were they afraid? Were they making plans to...
Well, they weren't really making plans to do anything. They were sitting there. They were talking to each other. When he came in, everyone thought it was a joke because he pulled it out, and it didn't look like a real gun, and he asked Mr. Pogany, the teacher, to leave the room, and then they left. He shot a hole in the wall behind Mr. Pogany, and then everyone knew it was real, and they left, or Mr. Pogany left, and he was sitting in the front of the room, and everyone was just sitting there shaking, and they didn't know what to do. And then he told everyone they could talk to each other. And then he asked us if we wanted pizza or what we wanted to eat or whatever.
Did he ever tell you his intention?
Well, he just said that he was just doing that, and he didn't think that there'd be school today for the rest of the day, and he was just kind of joking around, like stuff like that.
What did he say about turning 17 and not doing anything better in his life?
He just said that he read that book, and his birthday was yesterday, and he didn't think he'd do anything in his life, so he remembered that from the book, and he just decided he should do that. He was trying to decide which class he was going to go into, and I don't know, it's just that's the room he picked.
He never had any intention of harming you guys?
Well, the way it sounded, it didn't really sound like he was going to hurt anybody, because one girl knew him personally, and she said she told him that she didn't think he'd hurt she didn't think he'd hurt anybody, and then
Decision 92. From the KEVN Action News Election Center, here are Dan Schillinger and Karen Shaler.
Actually, Karen Shaler is not here, but I am. Good evening. Many of the results are in, and it is turning out to be a pretty good night for the Democrats nationally, and the Republicans locally are doing well, too. Not only has Bill Clinton won the presidency tonight, but South Dakota Senator Tom Daschle was easily reelected, along with Congressman Tim Johnson. But the big story tonight is in the South Dakota legislature, where a pitched battle for control is underway this evening. We're going to take a look at the latest vote totals in some key Senate races in the South Dakota State Senate now. This is District 29 for the State Senate, and Jacobs is behind right now. Les Cleven is leading there 56 to 44%. That is with a very small number of votes counted right now. This district in Rapid City, former city attorney and former legislator Mike Dietrich is running ahead of Paul Heyman now, 67% to 33%, and again, that's with a very small number of votes counted in District 32. Let's go on to, I believe, District 33 is District 34. This one was one of the most closely watched races all across the state, not only here in the Black Hills, because both parties saw it as a key race in deciding which party was going to gain control of the state Senate. Well, if it is, and if these results hold up, it should be a good night for the Republicans. Jerry Schoner, an executive with the Rapid City Journal, is well on his way to defeating incumbent Democratic State Senator Judy Olson in District 34. Let's go on to District 35, where Sharon Green has a little bit of a closer race going against Bob Haskell tonight. Haskell is leading right now with 52 to 48%. Those are some of the key Senate races that we're looking at. And Kerry Wickersham is standing by live tonight with one of the key players in one of those Senate races down at Democratic headquarters at the Alex Johnson Hotel in downtown Rapid City. Kerry?
That's right. The Democrats here are very excited about the presidential race, but they are still putting their shoulder to the grind on this Senate race, hoping for some good results here. Joining me now is Judy Olson. One of the hottest races in Rapid City is in District 34 for the Senate race. Once again, this Senate race very important to the Democrats, right? Again, this race a very tight one. The vote has not been tabulated. Judy is still holding on. This race is not over yet. Dan?
Okay, thank you very much, Kerry Wickersham. Michael Winder is standing by live at Republican headquarters, where they have taken a big hit in the national election tonight. But, Michael, I would imagine they must be feeling pretty good at the legislative numbers they've seen so far.
Oh, a lot of big smiles on legislative candidates' faces here at Republican headquarters down at the Rushmore Plaza Holiday Inn. We're joined now by Mike Dietrich, who former state senator, served 2 terms in Pierre. He's also the former city attorney for Rapid City. Mike, how does it feel to be back in the swing and have an early lead tonight so far?
Well, it feels great. I love Rapid City in South Dakota, and I worked hard when I was in...
Okay, thank you very much, Michael. I would imagine that Mike Dietrich would also be interested in the ballot question that's going on tonight regarding video lottery. We will take a look at that and some of the other races in just a moment.
Decision 92. Coverage will continue in a moment.
We are back with more of Decision 92, coverage of some of the local races going on across South Dakota tonight. We're going to look at some of the statewide totals on the statewide issues now, beginning with the South Dakota vote for President of the United States, and the polls said this would be close, and it is indeed close. Right now we have President Bush ahead, but only by the thinnest of margins, and independent Ross Perot doing surprisingly well tonight, 23% of the vote in South Dakota. As we mentioned, Senator Tom Daschle easily winning re-election tonight, over 40,000 votes, 65% of the vote statewide. We should mention that this is with a little less than half of the actual vote counted in South Dakota. Tim Johnson winning easily tonight, too, 71% to Timmer's 25% in that race. Now we're going to take a look at, there's also a House race going on in our neighboring state of Wyoming tonight, where a dentist from Sheridan, Wyoming, has mounted a pretty credible challenge to incumbent Republican Congressman Craig Thomas. As you can see, John Hirschler with 40%, but Craig Thomas apparently the winner tonight at 58%. Now we're going to take a look at some of the ballot questions that were on the back of the ballots here in Rapid City today, and presumably on the back of the ballots elsewhere, too. This is referred law number 1. You'll recall the legislature approved granting a license to import garbage into the Lone Tree landfill near Edgemont. But once again, the people of South Dakota have said no to Lone Tree, and this may very well be the last straw in that one. At least that was the indication we had from the Lone Tree people. Initiated measure number 2 regarded some stricter limits for some of the open pit gold mining activity in the Black Hills, and that measure appears to be winning tonight, 57% to 43%. Some in the mining industry had told us that this could be the death of the open pit mines, but we will see about that. Initiated measure number 3 never really had a chance. This is the proposed state income tax that also would have eliminated the sales tax on food and prescription medicines, and also would have presumably lowered your property taxes on your home, but a vast majority of South Dakotans have rejected that income tax tonight, as we expected. Here's the measure that we referred to earlier, and I'm sure Mike Dietrich and many other people across the Black Hills are particularly interested in this one. Initiated measure 4, which would repeal the video lottery machines that have sprouted up in the last couple of years across the state. The vast majority of South Dakotans have said no to this, and in this case, no means we're going to keep the video lottery machines, so that measure apparently going down to defeat tonight. Here is one that is on the ballot in many states, not only South Dakota tonight, but this anti-incumbent fervor that we've heard about all year is showing itself in this one. This would limit the number of terms that South Dakota congressmen and senators, state representatives, state senators could serve, and it appears to be well on its way to winning tonight. 62% of the people voting to limit the number of terms, the number of years that our elected officials can serve. Joining us now are our political commentators, former state legislator Don Frankenfeld and former United States Senator Jim Abourezk, both of whom have served. What do you make, Don, of this term limitation measure that seems to have won overwhelming endorsement, not only in South Dakota, but in several of the other states tonight?
Well, I think it's certainly the coming trend, and I think that it's sort of a necessary medicine. I'm one of those people who, when I was earlier involved in politics, was pretty strongly opposed to term limits as a matter of philosophy, denying people their right to choose. Having now been where John Timmer is tonight, on the very short end of a very long stick, I realize what incredible advantages incumbents have, and I think that it would be preferable if there were other means to create a level playing field, but those means don't seem to arise. Incumbents somehow don't seem able to write laws that make it fair between an incumbent and a challenger. And if that's the case, I think term limits are the appropriate solution, and I'm not surprised to see them doing so well here in South Dakota this year.
By other means, you mean campaign finance reform?
Campaign finance reform, that's right. I think, you know, I guess I've become radicalized, Dan, when I think a lot of the...
that far.
Well, and Abourezk may not agree with that either, but I think that
agree with what?
my radical nature compared to this man, I'm a reactionary. I think we can be clear on that.
We are going to have, even before these term limits go into effect, a very large turnover in the Congress this year by virtue of a lot of House members losing in primaries, choosing not to run because of the scandals that happened. Having been a member of Congress for a while, what would you anticipate now when January comes along and all these freshmen, well over 100 of them, come pouring into Washington, along with the freshman president? Are we going to have the kind of, I guess the question I'm asking is, can we look forward to things moving faster than they have for the last 4 years, or not?
Well, no, I think they'll move faster simply because you have a Democratic Congress and a Democratic president. People of the same party will work together much better. The president can come in and ask members of Congress, as they do, of their own party, do this, win one for the Gipper, you know, do this one for me. And they'll do it even against their own better judgment. But the other thing is there are going to be all freshman congressmen, I mean a number, who have pledged to clean house once they get in there. So they're not going to be so easy to control as you might ordinarily think.
Okay.
And
I need to interrupt you for just a minute. I have just been told that the president is about to speak. We believe he's about to concede this election, so we're going to go back to the network for just a few minutes, and we will return later with more local returns. We are back with more of our coverage of Decision 92, the local results. You just heard President Bush conceding the presidential race. Michael Winder is standing by live now in downtown Rapid City with some reaction. Michael?
Dan, I'm joined by Rich Satgas, who is the West River coordinator for Bush Quail. And Rich, you listened to the Bush concession speech. Your reaction to it?
Well, I think it was a very good concession speech. I am kind of disappointed. President Bush was my commander-in-chief while I was stationed in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, so I'm a little disappointed that he had to give a concession speech. However, I would like to thank, as President Bush did, the young people that supported him. I would like to thank the people of Black Hills State University, the college Republicans, who supported him a lot, and I'm really thankful for that. I hope that Governor Clinton, now as President Clinton, will be able to lead this country in a way that, as a sole soldier, I can feel proud in that.
Again, things don't look good hot on the national level, Dan, Republican-wise. Locally, they're running very strong. We'll come back and talk to some House candidates in just a bit.
Okay, but before we do that, let's take a look at some of the numbers in some of the races for the State House of Representatives in Pierre. This is District 29, and as you can see, the Republican McNenny is leading in this one 39% to 25%. In District 31, here we have Kay Jorgensen running a very strong race tonight with 40% of the vote, and Harvey Crouchin and Tinnell are running a strong 1 and 2. Now, remember, 2 get elected from each one of these districts, so it's the top 2. In District 32 in Rapid City at the moment, that appears to be Wenzel Kavorik and Rex Haag. Haag is the incumbent in that race. These are, of course, new districts, too. The boundaries were redrawn after the census data came in. Let's move on to another Rapid City district, District 34. And this is one of the races that ended up pitting incumbents against each other because of reapportionment. And you can see the Republicans are in control here. Hillard and Sears are leading right now, and incumbent Linda Lee Viken and Claybaugh are trailing. We're going to check in at Democratic headquarters at the Alex Johnson Hotel, where Carrie Wickersham is standing by with one of those candidates. Carrie?
That's right. Linda Lee Viken told me just a few minutes ago, you know, she might know what it feels like to be an incumbent who loses. That may be the only area where she relates to Bush, though. Linda Lee has worked very hard against the property tax rebates that the Republicans pushed through. But, you know, that's what politics is about, and you have to accept that if you're going to be in the political process. Okay, thanks, Linda Lee, and good luck with whatever you continue to do. Okay, Democrats are here still very excited that Clinton has won, even though it looks like they may have a couple House candidates on their way out. Dan, back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Carrie Wickersham, and we're going to go back to Michael Winder, who is at Republican headquarters at the Rushmore Plaza Holiday Inn with 2 of the apparent winners in the legislature tonight, John Sears and Carol Hillard. Michael.
Well, Dan, the local Republicans might not have got much help in the congressional races, but District 34 doesn't appear like they needed any. I'm joined now by John Sears, who's running a strong second in District 34 in the House. John, your reaction to the vote total so far?
Well, in our district, I'm very happy, and I hope they hold.
Politics is about the future. The voters are telling us that they're comfortable with the direction we're heading. We need to make some refinements, but I think we need to continue on with the strong, healthy economic climate our state has.
Okay, thank you, Carol. Again, congratulations. Dan, and big lead again. Republicans doing very well locally, not so well nationally. Locally, again, they're running very strong, especially in legislative districts, leading in almost every contest.
Okay, Michael, before we go to our next break, we want to check some of the county returns. For Pennington County State's Attorney, no problem here for incumbent Republican Dennis Groff. He is leading Rob Carl 77 to 23%. Another county race going on this evening, Pennington County Treasurer, and once again, incumbent Republican Pat McKinstry, apparently on her way to re-election there with 65% of the vote. We have divided the Pennington County Commission into districts for the first time, and this is the first chance we've had to run them this way. In District 3, as you can see, Kelly is leading tonight with 48% of the vote, but we would caution you that these returns are pretty sparse right now. We will be back with more of our local coverage of Decision 92 in just a moment.
Decision 92. Coverage will continue.
We are back with more of our coverage of Decision 92, some of the local returns. We have a couple of races in Meade County that we want to show you before we go tonight. In this one for the County Commission, the top 2 finishers are elected here, and as you can see right now, those 2 appear to be Reed and Hanson in Meade County. There's also a ballot question in Meade County on whether or not they should switch to commissioner districts, such as we've just done here in Pennington County, and appears to be a dead heat so far, although the no vote has a 20-vote lead. That is with less than, I think, less than 25% of the votes counted in Meade County, so the jury is still out on that one. Before we go tonight, we want to turn once again to our commentators, Don Frankenfeld and Jim Aberesk, for a little perspective. You guys have been looking at some of the polling results tonight. On the presidential race, and as it might have affected some of our local races, what were the key issues do you think that voters had in mind as they went to the polls?
I looked at some of the polling results the Gallup organization had done and some of these others, and I think it's clear that Bill Clinton was able to make his case. The economy, the story was that he had in his campaign headquarters a big sign that said, "The economy's stupid," to remind everybody there that that was the issue. That was the issue on voters' minds as they, according to the exit polling. The deficit was, of course, a matter of concern. I saw one poll that said trust was a matter of concern. That, of course, was President Bush's issue. But interestingly enough, only about 52% of the people said that they trusted President Bush more than President-elect Clinton. So he didn't really establish himself on that issue.
Jim, that seemed to be the theme all year long, is that voters weren't too happy with any of the choices, which, of course, was what gave rise to Ross Perot's candidacy. What is it that people are looking for out there?
Well, I think they want a president who's on their side. I really believe that, you know, they want to feel, as I talk to people, you know, they felt like Bush had sort of forgotten them, then jumped back in when it looked like he was in electoral trouble. That he'd forgotten to deal with the country. And he was happy flying overseas and dealing with foreign policy and so on. And Clinton seemed to promise that, but Clinton got a lot of negative hits all during the year, during the primaries and during the general. And I'm absolutely amazed that he survived those, to be honest with you, because you can make anybody into an ogre, you know, if you use enough publicity on them.
But Bill Clinton really seems to have the same characteristic that Ronald Reagan had. I don't think philosophically they're much alike, but they both seem to be able to establish rapport with voters, which is something that President Bush, who I believe had a great many strengths, but among them was not establishing rapport with voters. He just wasn't a communicator.
Oh, he's a cold fish.
That was the big difference between the Reagan administration and the Bush administration is that he wasn't able to maintain that connection that Reagan seemed to have with the voters.
That's right.
Okay.
Well, the other thing, Clinton has more hair than Bush does. And
now, wait a minute, Senator. If that were a standard, I'd be in Congress.
No, only for president. It has nothing to do with you running for Congress.
I should warn you, we had this discussion off the air a little while ago, and it went about the same way. We will be back with more in just a minute. Stay with us.
Decision 92. Coverage will continue in a moment.
Before we go tonight, I want to share one story with you from Gillette, Wyoming, where, as in all other places around the country today, a lot of people wanted to get an early jump on the voting. A young man parked his truck outside one of the polling places, left the engine running, went in to cast his ballot thinking he'd be just in and out again. Came out a few minutes later, couldn't find his truck, called the police. There was a massive search for the truck, which was eventually found, parked around the corner on the other side of the building, engine still running. Guy admitted he just parked in the wrong place and forgot. That's how Election Day went in Gillette. We will be back with more at 10 o'clock, a full half-hour report with more results and reaction on some of the local races. Until then, we return you to Tom Brokaw and the NBC News team.
You have been watching Decision 92 from the KEVN Action News Election Center. Stay tuned for further election updates. This is KEVN. Now, the Black Hills Best. Dan Schillinger. Karen Shaler. Meteorologist Dan Carlson with weather. And sports with Jack Caudle. This is KEVN Action News.
Good evening, everyone. Bill Clinton is the next president of the United States.
But here at home, a lot of people are watching to see what's going to happen in the South Dakota Senate. Now, there are 35 Senate seats. Before this election, the Republicans controlled 18 seats, the Democrats 17. The Democrats are hoping to pick up a couple of seats to take control of the Senate for the first time since 1975.
And there are some closely watched races in two Rapid City districts, Districts 33 and 34. Let's check in at the results of those right now. In District 34, incumbent Democrat Judy Olson is running behind Republican challenger Jerry Schoner at this time. Schoner leading with 56% of the vote to Olson's 44% of the vote. This is with less than half of the vote counted.
And in District 33 in the Senate race, we do not have any results, and yet we're hoping to get those to you as soon as possible.
We should mention that there has been a problem with the machine that counts the ballots down at the Pennington County Auditor's Office, so some of these results are a little bit slow in coming in. We're going to check in at Republican headquarters where Michael Winder has been standing by live all night tonight. Michael, what is the feeling down there about the state Senate?
Well, it's a very happy mood right down here, Diane. Right now, Fred Whiting, the chairman of the Republican Party in Pennington County, joins me now. He's also a House candidate, District 33. Because of that glitch in the machines, haven't got any results yet. He's anxiously awaiting those results. But right now, the subject is, I guess, the Senate, Fred, the state Senate. Looks like the Republicans are going to hold on, especially West River.
It certainly looks that way, and of course, it's a tremendous victory in District 34 in particular, where Jerry Schoner is well ahead of Judy Olson, and that will be a tremendous victory for...
Why don't we go ahead and check out some of the other South Dakota Senate races going on around the Black Hills.
Outside of the two that we already showed you here in Rapid City, if we can take a look at those. As we mentioned, due to the reapportionment that went on this year, there's been a lot of interest in these legislative races because the shift in balance between the Republicans and Democrats was a possibility. We're going to take a look at some of these right now. In District 32, Republican Mike Dietrich has a sizable lead now over Heyman. Dietrich, you'll recall, served in the legislature once before and is a former Rapid City attorney, and we heard from him live just a few minutes ago.
And let's see if we have some other races in District 35 in the Senate race. It's a close race right now, but we have Green with a 54% lead over Haskell at 46%.
And moving on in District 30 tonight, this one runs down into Custer, and Republican incumbent Jim Emery is ahead there with 61% of the vote, but that is with less than half of the vote counted there.
Okay, and one more to look at here in District 29, another fairly close race, but we have Republican Cleveland in first place with 856 votes, which is 56%.
Okay. And when Action News continues, we will continue with more election results a little bit later.
We'll find out how some of the ballot initiatives are doing, and we'll have local reaction from the Democratic and Republican headquarters.
Stay with us.
As expected, South Dakota is almost evenly split in the presidential race. Let's take a look at some of our latest results there. Just as we mentioned, it is a tight race right now. We have Bush just 1% ahead of Bill Clinton. Bush has 42,503 votes, Clinton 41,786 votes, and Ross Perot 23%.
Surprisingly strong showing, or maybe not surprising, for Ross Perot. In the Senate race, this one was called very early in the evening. Senator Tom Daschle, no problem tonight with Republican Charlene Hart, despite a pretty bitter campaign, and Libertarian Hercules and Kent Hyde, the Natural Law Party candidate, each got 1% of the vote.
And then looking at the South Dakota U.S. House, as expected, Tim Johnson is ahead overwhelmingly with a 70% lead. Timmer is 26%, and we have Newland, Balaker, and Wazorek with 1% and 2%, respectively.
There's also a House race going on in Wyoming tonight where freshman Republican Craig Thomas, who was appointed to fill the vacancy when Dick Cheney was appointed Secretary of Defense. Thomas is leading tonight, but John Herschler Sheridan making a respectable showing, 39%.
And now let's check out some of our ballot initiatives to see how they are doing. One of the most controversial initiatives is the income tax proposal.
I think we're going to do the State House.
Sorry, I didn't mean to miss the State House. It's here now. In the State House, we have also a close race. Right now, Hillard is ahead with 35%, followed by Sears with a close 29%.
And we heard from Linda Lee Viken a little bit earlier, and it looks like she may be on her way out at incumbent. In District 35 tonight, the two leaders at this point, and remember, two get elected from each one of these House districts, Madden and Hollenbeck. We heard from Madden just a short time ago. Mark Hollenbeck is an incumbent Republican, and they appear on their way to re-election.
And also in District 32 in our House race, it's very close right now. We have Rex Haig with 28%, and then we have a three-way tie between Page, Nordstrom, and Kavorik, so that's definitely a race to be watching.
And that one changed dramatically here in the last few minutes, got much closer. Here's another close race for the second spot on the ticket. Veteran legislator Kay Jorgensen is well in the lead. This is the district that runs up into Lawrence County. But the second spot on the ticket, Harvey Crouchen and Tinnell, are tied at this time. Very close.
And in District 30, the House seat right now, let's see, we have Peterson ahead with 30%. And it's also close in between there. We have Moran, I believe, with 19%, Miller with 17%, and Flatt with 23%.
And Flatt and Peterson, the incumbents in that one. District 29, in this race, McNenny is leading with 41%, and Letellier, both Republicans, 38%, apparently on their way to Pierre.
And let's see, on the initiative measure, Number 3, the income tax. Not really surprising. I think a lot of people expected this. We have a large majority, 73% voting no against the South Dakota state income tax.
Feeling against an income tax has always been high in South Dakota. We're going to go back to Michael Winder at Republican headquarters now with more reaction. Michael?
Well, Dan and Karen, you just were mentioning the income tax issue. Of course, Mark Hollenbeck is leading so far in his district, District 35, for one of the House seats along with Cheryl Madden. And it looks like you're going back, Mark. Congratulations on that. Also, you've been on the tax committee. You've studied the tax structure in South Dakota. It's quite obvious the people of South Dakota do not want an income tax in regard to the vote today. First of all, your reaction to the income tax vote and what happens from here on out in regards to taxes in South Dakota legislative-wise.
Well, I assume that the taxes would not pass as far as an income tax. I don't think the majority of the people want the income tax. The Democrats pretty much divorced themselves from the proposition after they introduced it, and I don't believe that we're going to have an income tax in the state for quite some time. I think our challenge now is to take a little bit of the tax burden off of the elderly and the people on fixed incomes.
It'll be interesting to see what develops in January in regards to taxation, Dan and Karen.
It will be interesting indeed. Okay, thanks, Michael. We're going to look at some of the other ballot initiatives that were voted on today around South Dakota. This is initiated measure number 2, which would put stronger limits on some of the mining that goes on in the Black Hills, and it is winning tonight with 58% of the vote to 42%.
And also going on to look at a referendum that would allow a landfill project, the Lone Tree landfill project. Right now, it's a large majority, 71% are voting against the project.
I think we can safely say that's the last we will see of that one. Also, we wanted to mention Amendment A, which is the one that sets limits on how long our politicians can serve, not only in Congress in Washington, but also in Pierre. And as is happening in other states around the country tonight, South Dakotans are supporting this idea of limiting the number of years that people can serve.
And that'll have a lot of changes. Make a lot of changes. We also want to check out the video lottery issue. There was some confusion when people went to the polls about if they voted yes, if they wanted video lottery or not. But what it is right now, we're seeing 63% are voting no, meaning that they do not want to repeal video lottery. They want to keep it. So right now it looks like video lottery will be staying in our state here. And earlier tonight, Laura Shane had a chance to talk to people on both sides of this controversial issue. Here's her report.
Ballots are still being counted tonight to decide if South Dakota will keep video lottery. A yes vote on measure number 4 repeals video lottery, and a no vote means video lottery will stay. As the final votes are tallied, both sides remain firm in their opinions. Those for initiative number 4 say despite the revenue generated by the machines, they still cost the state money.
It's estimated that some $40,000 is required for every one of the gamblers.
And now we're going to check out some of the latest results on some races that we have going on around Pennington County tonight. First of all, in Pennington County State's Attorney Dennis Gross, looks like he is winning by an overwhelming majority. I think that's no surprise to anyone.
No.
77% against Carl with 23%.
Also, Pennington County Treasurer race, another incumbent Republican doing well tonight. Pat McKinstry apparently on her way to another term over Kruger.
And coming up in our next race, Pennington County Commission in District 2, we have a close race right now. We have Work at 52% over Wells at 48%.
That is, again, with less than half of the vote counted, so that could change. In the other Pennington County Commission district that is up for grabs, this is the one that's basically the eastern part of Pennington County running all the way out to Wall. And Don Kelly, who has run for this job before, doing well at 49% tonight. Tom Griffith, who works for the Mount Rushmore Society, is in second place with 41% of the vote there.
And in Meade County, for Meade County Commissioner, it's a tight race. We have about 60-65% of the votes in right now. But leading the race right now is Reed with 29%. But close behind is Hansen, and as you can see, the other 3 candidates are close in there, so that's another race to watch.
Okay.
But I think people are ready for reform, and I think that they were responding to what he had to say.
And Perot doing relatively well tonight in South Dakota, over 20%, and we've seen him at over 20% in some of the other western states, too. So it'll be interesting to see what role, if any, he plays in the
future. Definitely. Okay. Thank you, Don Frankenfeld. Well, we're going to check in with Dan Carlson for a weather update coming up next.
Looks like our snow will stay around for a while. We'll have a forecast in a moment. Bill Clinton is greeting his supporters in Little Rock right now. We're going to go there live and pick some of that up.
And then...
Do that waiting to tell us about the football
I feel out of place. You're like, I don't belong in this whole mix.
Well, we had a race of a different sort
That's
going
right,
on.
a big race.
Plenty of scores, and all tabulations are in as of right now. The Stevens-Raider season came to a close tonight, but that came to an end with a quarterfinal loss to the Watertown Arrows. Picked that one up, and not a huge crowd down at O'Hara Stadium tonight. Watertown in the white. Out quick, Paul O'Neill and minor leaguer Joe DeBerry to the Yankees for outfielder Roberto Kelly. So sports is done. Back to the political sports.
Back to politics. Okay, we will be back in just a minute.
Decision 92. From the KEVN Action News Election Center, here are Dan Schillinger and Karen Shaler.
Good evening, everyone. We have some updated election results for you now.
And the first thing we want to tell you, we've been following the story all night about which party is going to control the state Senate in Pierre, and for that matter, the state House. We have an analysis now done by the AP that shows that the Democrats have now won 5 Senate seats in Pierre. The Republicans have won 3. The Democrats are leading in 14 other races, the Republicans leading in 12. So that gives us right now 19 Democrats, 15 Republicans. If that trend were to continue, and obviously that's not complete yet because there are still some races out, but if that trend were to continue, then indeed the Democrats would take control of the state Senate. Even more surprising than that is the trend in the state House, which I think only the most ardent Democrats had any hope of making any gains in. Here's what we have there. The Democrats have won 3 seats right now. They are leading in 29 others, which gives them 32. The Republicans have won 2 House seats, are leading in 34 others, which gives them 36. That would indicate that the Republicans are still going to control the state House in Pierre, but that the Democrats would pick up, because right now the Democrats have 25 seats in the House. They apparently are on their way to 32 now, a sizable gain for the Democrats in both the state House and the Senate, which could cause some problems for Governor George Mickelson and tax plans come January.
Well, even in the House race, the Democrats picked up, at least what we have so far, 7 seats. I mean, that's surprising.
It is.
Definitely.
We also want to tell you about the...
You're watching the Black Hills Best, Fox 7. Now, from your local news station, this is Fox 7 News at 10.
Good evening. A line of severe thunderstorms deals a mixed hand of large hail, heavy rain, and strong winds to the Black Hills.
So far, only 1 injury is blamed on tonight's weather. At the Central States Fair, a 71-mile-per-hour wind gust blew over a beer tent near the grandstand tonight. 1 person inside the tent was hurt, but apparently the injuries are not serious. Elsewhere, golf ball-size hail covered roads and hillsides from Lead to Custer. No major injuries are reported because of the slippery roads, but you can see it looked more like a snowstorm in many parts of the Black Hills. With the wind and hail, there was also lightning. Strikes are responsible for a number of small fires all over the hills, and some area residents will be without electricity for at least a few more hours. Black Hills Power and Light reports spotty power outages in Rapid City and other communities. Now, our first check of the weather, Dan Carlson will tell us if it's all over.
Yes, Dan, I think that it is all over for us here in Rapid City. As you can see from the Black Hills west, skies are clearing out as far as precipitation is concerned. There is still quite a line of heavy thunderstorms from south-central South Dakota down into Nebraska, and some heavy action now in Bennett County up into Jackson County. But the farther west you go here across our viewing area, the less intense the storminess gets, and there are no longer any kinds of watches, warnings, or advisories in effect for the Black Hills or the immediate Rapid City area. I'll have your complete weekend forecast in a few minutes.
Thanks, Dan. A tally of arrests and charges from the Sturgis motorcycle rally is starting to add up. State Highway Patrol says it has seized 22 vehicles because of altered serial numbers or drug possession charges since the event began on Monday. The patrol says it's investigated 27 motorcycle accidents in the Black Hills since Sunday afternoon. And as of yesterday morning, there have been 41 felony drug arrests, 131 misdemeanor drug arrests, and 124 drunk driving arrests. Well, it won't be long before Bob Dole makes a phone call to the man he wants as his running mate. And tonight, all signs point to former Congressman and tax cut advocate Jack Kemp. Republican sources say Kemp is ready to accept the offer. Bob Dole is denying a CNN report, though, that he has already offered the number 2 spot to Kemp. Dole says that report is wrong.
What would you do if you were evicted from your home with just 3 days to find a new place to live?
That's the situation for about half the people living in the Blue Wing Trailer Court in Box Elder. That story coming up in 2 minutes.
Some people living in Box Elder say they are caught between a rock and a hard place.
More than half the people living in the Blue Wing Mobile Home Court have been told to move out this weekend. Residents say the eviction notices are unfair considering the trailer park had its business license revoked last month by the Box Elder City Council.
Money got tight and we got served a evict notice. We got 3 days to move out. Pay $1,000, including August. They don't have a license. How can they accept money? Shut up.
The G's say they don't know whether they'll be able to find another place they can afford to live. The City of Box Elder revoked Blue Wing's license because of repeated building code violations. We were unable to get a hold of the trailer park's attorney for comment today. Deadwood's unsightly hole on Main Street won't be filled anytime soon. The City Planning and Zoning Commission has denied plans for a 6-story hotel and casino to fill the vacant lot in Deadwood because the building was too tall. Full House Incorporated wanted their building to be about 4 feet taller than the Bodega and the Midnight Star. Owners of the land say they're very disappointed because they feel Deadwood needs something new.
Right now, economically, there's nothing that we can do to make the project feasible without the additional height allowance. And so we're going to have to go back and reassess whether or not we want to even pursue the project any further.
The company says if the building was 4 stories, they couldn't make enough money. Christensen has been working on the project since July. He says he will not give up with the Deadwood Planning and Zoning Commission.
Well, severe weather roared through the Black Hills tonight.
Will it pass through in time for a nice weekend? Dan Carlson has the answer. The forecast next.
Well, Dan Carlson can finally take a breather.
He's had a busy night.
Yeah, running around, sweat pouring down his temples. Poor guy. A lot of severe weather tonight, but it looks like things have finally relaxed. Dan?
Yeah, finally relaxed. As you can see, we do have some thunderstorms still in the neighborhood, but they are weakening and are moving out. There are no longer any severe weather warnings. Have it easier to trip home if you've been visiting the area. Just watch for those afternoon storms.
Finally, 100 degrees. It doesn't seem like we've had much of that this
No, we
summer.
really haven't.
No.
No.
Well, money-saving tips you don't want to miss are coming up next on Fox 7 News.
First, though, a look at a new Lakota powwow in the Black Hills this summer.
Rally goers and other visitors are invited to see what a Lakota powwow is all about.
Grand entry at the first annual Native American Heritage Powwow featured colors and traditions similar to other powwows, but this one is different because it is actually held in the Black Hills, which of course are sacred to the Lakota. The powwow is open to the public and caters to visitors.
The bikers, they seem to have something in common with the American Indians. They just think a lot. They like leather, they like Indian designs, they like riding with the wind, they like the great outdoors.
Between 40 and 50 tribes are represented at the powwow. Organizers stress that the event is social, not religious, so all residents are encouraged to come out before the powwow ends on Sunday.
Well, Post 22 has been to the American Legion World Series 5 times.
And of course, they'd like to go a 6th time. Jack Caudle is standing by with sports to tell us if they're on their way. Jack?
Well, Post 22 keeps cruising through the state American Legion baseball tourney in Huron.
News tonight at 10 on 12 News.
It was 50 years ago that the first chunk of granite was knocked out of Mount Rushmore. Now, 5 decades later, one of this country's most popular tourist attractions was finally dedicated. Our NBC's Dan Schillinger was at the dedication ceremony, and he joins us live now with the latest. Dan?
Yes, good evening. The president promised a patriotic welcome home for the Desert Storm troops, and today he chose this most American of backdrops to reassert America's leadership.
For the values and the lands we revere. Today we must build on their beginnings. We must continue to preserve our greatness while pushing back the limits of our imagination.
Ironically, it was another war that stopped the work on Mount Rushmore back in 1941. America's entry into World War II and the death of sculptor Gutzon Borglum brought the work here to a halt before Rushmore was completed. Many of the men who helped build this monument were here today.
When we were working there,
we didn't think so much about it, but now it's really a great thing, and we realize what it means to everyone that has seen it or will see it, and it's just, I think, the greatest thing in the United States, maybe in the world.
The patriotic theme was reinforced this afternoon with a flyby of vintage and current warplanes. And organizers of today's $500,000 celebration here hope that it will draw nationwide attention to a $40 million nationwide fund drive that's underway now. They need that money to fix some of the cracks in the monument and also to expand the visitors' facilities here. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Dan.
Well, it looks like old Pete Rose has a new career.
Check in with